think by now I don't need introductions, but hopefully I didn't traumatize you in my previous fast fire version. So I'll try to be a little slower. I also need some rest. And so this is the group that's about technology, right? I didn't get the group wrong. I had to make sure.
Yes.
Okay, everybody in here is here because they associate themselves or see themselves as tech people. Which is lovely. I feel comfortable now. It's more my gang. Okay, so I think the part about technology is unlike the boring business people, they're going to be talking about business, scheming behind the back and stuff. We're going to be talking about the real thing, the cool stuff. And how many of you here actually have heard about blockchain? Actually, I should ask the question the other way. Has anybody not heard of blockchain? Mahesh, don't raise your hand. You're going to be presenting on it, so okay. Well, that's good. It means awareness levels are great. How many of you have heard about Internet of Things? Wow. So there's only one person who didn't hear about it.
I've heard the name, but I'm not quite sure regarding
Okay.
content.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Big data. Everybody, literally. Data always gets big. I mean, that's what's there to say about it. And importantly, artificial intelligence. Everybody has seen artificial intelligence and Terminators trying to kill us all the time. But that's the scary version of things. Has anybody heard, and this is very important in light of all recent events and stuff, at the risk of sounding like a Hogwarts principal, okay, have you heard about cybersecurity? Okay, lovely, lovely. So, wow, I'm in a very enlightened crowd who literally knows everything, so my job is simpler. So I'm just going to assume you know all these things. But, okay, so I just spoke to you about 5 technologies. So, blockchain, Internet of Things, big data, artificial intelligence, and the 5th one I always forget. But anyways, so all the 5 technologies that I just spoke to you about. And what is interesting about these things is these particular technologies, I think it's cybersecurity, I finally remember. Yeah. And these 5 technologies, in my view, are likely to change how we live. It's going to change the way things are. And that requires strong technology-oriented people to be building this. Because that's what is important for technology is a means to an end. And the end state is a betterment of human quality of life. So that's why you need to learn technology. So I'll just briefly tell you about a bit of technology. So how this session is structured is going to be pretty straightforward. So before I start, I'd like to just highlight distinguished speakers. So we have Yanjun from Reuters. She's here to talk about a little bit of artificial intelligence and a little bit of a new concept called perma-ID, so which you will hear more and more, and trust me, it's very interesting. I'm hooked to it. Then, of course, we will have the big giants in software space, Microsoft. Of course, you have Samson here from Microsoft, and he will be talking about everything interesting as well, which is blockchains, which is about virtual machines, which is about their platform Azure, how it helps people to actually absorb, adopt, and use and implement technology. And they will also be talking about their blockchain as a service program. So Samson, I put it on your plate for now. And also they also have an interesting perspective on artificial intelligence and stuff. So there's a lot of these things that actually happen in parallel. So let me just give a briefer on the different technologies that I just spoke about. Okay, what is blockchain? And this is the question that everybody's been asking. But I will ask a different question. So who invented blockchain? The Bitcoin guy, interesting. That's
It's actually unknown, right? It is a name,
Yeah.
and that could represent
Japanese
yes, bingo.
okay. The first thing is blockchain was created by a marketing guy. The term, okay. To be clear, the original Bitcoin guy, who it is attributed to, said chain of blocks, and somebody found it cool to call it blockchain. And listen, who we are now? We're talking about blockchain. So the guy who actually people thought invented it didn't invent it. The term blockchain was invented by a marketing guy who just thought blockchain sounded cool. Yes, this is a real story. Satoshi Nakamoto, or the person in Bitcoin who was attributed with inventing this technology or term, actually said chain of blocks. Read his paper again, and you will find this. So that's the first thing. And second, is this concept newly introduced that mankind has never thought about it before? Not really, no. This technology has been there since the 90s. Just people have been never bothered to reach that level, and quite frankly, people did not have the freedom of mind to think at that level. It is nothing more than a distributed database, and it solves the problem of trust. That's in a nutshell what blockchain is. And of course, when Samson goes through blockchain as a service, he will give you a lot more details as to how Microsoft enables it and stuff like that, and speak a little bit about the technology. So for my part, I'll say blockchain is, there's no one blockchain. A lot of people don't know the difference between Bitcoin and blockchain. Bitcoin is one lousy implementation of blockchain. That's what it is. It didn't think through a lot of things. It was always expected people would invent it on the fly, and they left it there. But it just wanted to inspire people, and that's why people remember Bitcoin. So blockchain is very different from Bitcoin. It's a technology. Bitcoin is just one implementation, which is a cryptocurrency, as they call it. And I can go on about Bitcoin, but that's probably going to take the entire session, so I'm going to cut short there. And when you look at blockchains, so like I said, it tries to solve the problem of trust. So when does trust become important? Usually we tend to trust ourselves. I mean, when it comes to alcohol, we don't trust ourselves, but in general, we trust ourselves. So we will leave one-party kind of situations out of the equation. So when you have two people there, then trust becomes important, because there's no way you can trust the other person 100%. And those are situations where something like a blockchain technology can help. What essentially are you trying to solve? You're saying both parties feel the process is fair, nobody can arbitrarily manipulate it. Imagine your relationship with your bank. You just, let's say you went to work, you received your monthly salary, the next day, poof, it disappears. And you try to argue with the bank, hey, my salary, I saw it in my statement and stuff. I was like, well, I chose to keep these records. I just decided you don't need the money, I just took it, and there's no evidence of it. Can happen, not that I'm saying they will happen, can happen. And you don't feel comfortable with that. You'd rather say, okay, I need some audit trail, I need some evidence to protect myself, that my hard-earned money belongs to me, and nobody can actually go just changing the records without any trace of evidence to do this. How do you do that? You can use blockchain. And here's where the fundamental thing is. So blockchain, the way it is organized is multiple parties keeping literally copies of the same transaction. And if you made a mistake and you want to change something, you have to explicitly create a new modification record. You cannot change the original record. So the concept of immutability, or cannot change what has once happened, I'm sure a lot of us regret a lot of things in our life and hope it's changed. But with blockchain, you're going to give up that right. Let's face it, once you made a mistake, it'll be there on the blockchain forever, for eternity. And you can only modify it by a frank admission that you made a mistake and you want to change it, and you can reverse it. This is what blockchain really means in real life. So it's about having multiple parties, having multiple copies, and having the right level of power so that no one person can do fraud stuff or corrupt stuff and things like that. That's the simplest way I would explain blockchain. There's a lot more to it. There's a lot of technological developments. Then the first question people ask me is, oh, if everybody's going to keep copy, that's like a massive waste of storage. But then I wouldn't worry about it for two reasons. We're anyways making storage so efficient that tomorrow I'll have a small chip and it can have 2 terabytes of data that I can put there. So one, it's not an immediate problem to solve. And two, people are already looking at how to solve this problem, which is called scalability. Because if you're keeping multiple copies of redundant data, I mean, is it really worth it? Is it really necessary? Some of us feel maybe not, or there may be smarter ways of doing it. Or maybe the entire world's historical data is not relevant to me. I want only data related to me. So there are solutions that different blockchains are coming up. So I'll leave the blockchain topic with just a few thoughts as to where you can look it up. Bitcoin, definitely. Learn how not to build a blockchain. So that's one example. Look at multi-chain, how to adapt Bitcoin and make it usable in a safe and secure and acceptable pragmatic way. Look at Hyperledger Fabric, and Hyperledger is a big project that's sponsored by the Linux Foundation and has lots of different blockchains that can be part of it. There are several, one from Intel, one from IBM, one from R3 There are a lot of projects coming in under Hyperledger umbrella. The leading light amongst them is Fabric, the one that is contributed by IBM. And it has its own features in pragmatism. And plus you could look at also, can anybody remind me a very, very famous blockchain that I forgot to mention right now? Ethereum, yes. Ethereum. Okay, I love Ethereum. I fell in love with Ethereum a long time ago. Of course, my wife is here, so I have to be careful about what I say. I mean, at a platonic level here. You're still my sweetheart. So Ethereum had a very unique thought process. It was as libertarian as Bitcoin, but it was also very pragmatic. That's what I loved about it. And the person who thought about it was actually, when he thought about it, was almost your age, or slightly older than you. That's it. But he was so visionary. And then he quickly assembled a team of people to actually do this. And what came out was actually astoundingly useful. So they created an ecosystem where you can pay for utilization of computing power and software and development of applications with a token called Ether. So Ether was one of those cryptocurrencies that actually had a real value. You can use it in that system in order to perform your computations and stuff. So that's about Ethereum and stuff. I can go on long about it in depth, but these are recommended reads for you. Okay, quickly going through big data and fundamentals. Big data, as we all say, data just keeps accumulating all over the place. Somebody's got to get a hang of what's going on. So there are certain techniques as to how you organize, structure, as well as manipulate and make sense of data. So that's mostly related to the big data and how you handle it. So I wouldn't say much more than that. Beyond that, it's just boring. So I'll stop there. So, but it's very important. Don't underestimate its importance. Usually the boring ones and the painful ones are the more important problems to solve. So just remember that. Blockchain is over. Big data is over. Internet of Things. Oh, Internet of Things. Just remember terminators. It can become when you enable certain devices to be smart by themselves. And Internet of Things is, as of this moment, is all about your smart devices. So one day your devices will get a bit more smarter and smarter and smarter. So some days you might become as lazy that when your fridge is unstocked or it doesn't have the right food that you want, your fridge will order for you. It'll have it delivered and somebody will put it in the fridge even before you wake up, because your fridge knows what you love and what kind of food will be there. That's an example of what could be Internet of Things. There are several other million examples that I can give, but just in the interest of time, I'll just say Internet of Things is all about smart devices to make up mostly for lazy and dumb people. That's basically what it is. Okay, the dumb was more of a joke, but for lazy people is more of the message I wanted to say. So it's a technological advancement that's going to make a lot of things easier for human beings to do. Artificial intelligence, okay, that's where terminators really come in. When you have a machine thinking on its own, oh boy, all hell breaks loose. So you have to be mindful that artificial intelligence has its uses. To the extent it still helps humans, it's definitely a worthwhile technology. So you have things like machine learning. The moment when they say deep learning, I lose them there, but when they say machine learning, it's still fine. Machine is still learning, you're trying to teach it like a kid, keep it under control, it's still fine. So a lot of automation, a lot of thought process that you know that you think in a certain way, you just want to write it down as an algorithm and let the machine do the stuff. That's definitely part of AI that's useful for human beings. There's a certain area of artificial intelligence which could lead rise to Terminator's kind of situation. But we still believe we've got time, although some people say America has already invented it. But that's just pure rumors. And even if they did, they wouldn't admit it publicly anyways. So that's artificial intelligence as an area. And I've just scratched the surface, just given you a glimpse of it. But if you deep dive in, and further when you hear from, and artificial intelligence doesn't stop there. Actually, there's something called as natural language processing and stuff like that. So you will hear more from Yanjun as well. We'll be going after Mahesh, who will be going through a quick short demo about blockchain foundry and stuff. And also Samson will be speaking about different aspects of NLP, AI, and other aspects. So these will be covered a little bit more in detail. So it doesn't stop here. Speaking about cybersecurity, I think everybody knows what is hacking, what is black hat, gray hat, white hat, or whatever other hats you can wear. In simplicity, it's about making sure your computers are secure. So you do not want to be doing certain things on your computer that other people can find out. Basically, that's it. I leave it to your imagination as to what you think that is. But that's basically, in a nutshell, why you should know cybersecurity. Some of the common mistakes that people make is not realizing when you're on a public Wi-Fi, literally everything you send can be read by anybody else who's there looking for it. And that, I think, in this age is being a little too complacent. There's just too much information. Well, anyways, Google and Facebook will anyways know everything about you, because you cannot stop putting selfies of yourself, saying things about things and stuff like that. So you cannot escape from Google and Facebook. But for the rest, you still have a chance of redemption. So that's something you should be aware. So be mindful of what you're putting in there. But that's another important area where cybersecurity in a certain way is important. So so now, finally speaking about the next person who's going to speak, which is Mahesh. This is Mahesh, who is the CTO of Blockchain Foundry. So I'm actually a co-founder there. But basically, he does all the job, I do all the talking. So, so I got the sexier job, he got a difficult job. And so he's going to just introduce Blockchain Foundry as a concept, the motivations. It has some beautiful thought processes. I'll add some couple of points during his speech, just to give a bit of thought process. And then, so Mahesh will go first in Blockchain Foundry. After that comes Yanjun from Reuters. So she has a couple of important concepts, perma ID and some bit of artificial intelligence or something related stuff that she will talk about. And following that will be Samson. And we left Samson for the end because he has a lot to say. So people, do not fall asleep in his section, and not in Yanjun's as well. You could have fallen asleep in my section. That's why I was trying to make it funny and keep you awake. but their sections are by design important, very, very important and relevant for what you have to hear and what you have to know. So please do pay attention. With Mahesh's also is important because I think most of you will be coming to a hackathon. So Blockchain Foundry is also the official partner for am-azed for the hackathon festival. So this is a platform that is available for your coding purposes and stuff. And Mahesh will explain in a bit. So without much further ado, Mahesh.
Yeah. Hi everyone. My name is Mahesh, and I've been running tech for Blockchain Foundry. And basically, Prez and I have had a lot of thought on how we designed this. But before that, I'll give you my background. I've been in technology for the past more than a decade, and I've worked in multiple banks and commodity houses as well on the trading technology side. And part of the being in the field, we've seen many different environments, many different developers, and what we've done is we've had a very deep thought through the entire process of how do we create our platform for everyone. And so we try to tightly integrate ourselves with the way of Agile. And one of the things that we've thought about is firstly, we want to give a platform where everyone can code. That's very important because from the get-go, if you can choose your stack, you can open up your workspace and start coding. It's a big help rather than you trying to install Node and try and do all the other parts, which can be quite painful. So we've thought about that for that. We want to give a place where people can work in multiple locations and code, so you can co-locate. And also collaborate with each other. You can do co-pairing, co-programming. I bring my laptop here, I code over here, someone else can do the same side by side, so a junior can teach a senior, and the entire process works quite well. And the second thing is we try to aim to do is to basically solve the problem about giving prototypes to people. So if you follow the old waterfall model of design, from the requirement gathering stage to the final delivery of the product, you could have built a dinosaur when someone wanted an elephant, which is quite useless at the end of the day, right? And yeah, I've seen it's like going to a contractor to build your house, and the guy gives you your bathroom in your bedroom. Right? And so you really need a person you need to be able to show your customer or your client the evolution of your product, and you can do it in 2-week cycles or 1-month cycles, depending how you want it to do. And what we've tried to do is we try to give you an environment to do that as well. Our ID will be a cloud ID, so you can actually go and literally take your laptop, go to your customer's desk, and show them, okay, this is the product. And the third thing we were trying to do is, one thing very important is collaboration with your client. Because today, your client can say, I want a login page to be created, sign up and login page. You create that and you show it to your client. Your client's happy with that. He says, okay, now I want a pricing page. I want some interaction with blockchain. I want some payment solution. You can iteratively give it that, and you can do it in a 2-week cycle. So you actually can work together very closely with your client. You can negotiate the requirements because your client is going to ask you, I want to send a spaceship to Mars. It's very common that the requirements are quite unrealistic, but if you show it to them in a 2-week cycle, you can actually bring them down to a way where you can negotiate with them where you want to get and how you're going to get there. And last but not least would be once you collaborate with your users, you can actually welcome change quite easily, because if you keep if the client's requirement change, he spoke to his client and his client wants to do this kind of business slightly differently, you can welcome the change rather than scrap everything and rebuild the whole thing. So in building our platform, we thought about this, and we've come up with like a place where you can actually code through a cloud development environment. You can actually check in your code can come from the repository. At the same time, we've curated a couple of solutions where you can drag and drop, so that you don't have to. If someone has solved the login module problem, you can drag and drop it over, use the code, remove all the other code that you don't need. Obviously, follow the software development practices for creating a robust environment. But you can reuse code very easily. You can reuse someone else's solution pretty easily as well.
Yeah, I think that's a good point that Mahesh has mentioned. So a different way I would have explained it is, I think the real inspiration for this happening is me being technologically non-conversant I was saying, Mahesh, what the heck? How do I create a project? And then he was like, okay, let me teach you. And that's how he came up with the platform. So this is what really happened. But he builds up this story about thought through and stuff. The real pain point was me. But in short, I didn't know about how to go about creating a project. And it's a shame because I was a computer science graduate. I used to know. But then that was almost 12, 15 years ago. So things have changed big time. Now you have frameworks. Back then you just had C or C++, you should be happy. And so things have changed. And so when the platform came in, so what I realized and I found out was, okay, the biggest problems with how you go about doing software is not knowing what to do and how to do. And so one of the things we realized is you have to be disciplined about how you maintain your program or your code. Then once you are disciplined about it, then you actually want to play around with your code without consequences. So you need a play area or a workspace. You just go build, execute, change. Oh, okay, something broke. Okay, fine, I'll change it. Or trash it. Let me do it again. So you have a scratch board or an area where you do this. So that's your workspace area. And then, of course, I mean, not everybody is a born programmer. You don't know. You always go to GitHub or whatever it is, fork somebody's code, try something out. Okay, and by stroke of luck, if it works, yay. And then we start and we do a programming. So we realized it helps to give a curated set of applications, which is what he was mentioning about, and stuff. So then what's special about Blockchain Foundry? You can do it in any other IDE as an integrated development environment. So the special part is we realized, apart from this, we could also add blockchains and make it interactable within the same screen. And we also added another section called Enterprise APIs because we were predominantly an enterprise kind of solution that was built. And in companies, especially the companies that are smart enough to have programmers, and those programmers who can write libraries of APIs as in application programmer interfaces. So then the usual problem is, okay, if I'm buying an off-the-shelf software, how do I make sure I can also use my in-house libraries? So that problem was also smartly solved. And in big measure, thanks to Mahesh with his technological stuff. So he might be very humble in what he says, but it's actually a great thing that he's done with some thought process and stuff. So and so this is basically how the platform will work, and you will of course get to use it during your hackathon. And what better way than to actually let Mahesh show it to you? Just have a quick short demo and then
I'll give you a quick preview before you
go ahead, Mahesh.
deep dive. So let me just move this here. So obviously, let's turn on.
Yeah, I think he might need that seat, John. So
Sorry, thank you.
Is the projector on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Switching on. Yeah.
Turn the seat around.
Yeah. Is that right? Can you guys?
Yes, slowly.
Okay.
So basically, I've skipped the login part where you log into the platform. And at the top here, you'll see the project workspaces. You'll see the code repositories here and the application store over here. And what we intend to do is, let's say you like you want to implement something called supply chain, cargo chain, or whatnot. What you can do is you can actually, this is part of our curated set of code. You can literally just drag it and drop it into the code repo. And what this does is it does a fork, which is it copies the code from the App Store directly into your repositories.
Oh yes, Heroku, yes. Definitely useful place. Yeah, I think the Wi-Fi is probably a bit slow, so it's going to take some time to load, but normally on high-speed internet it works much faster.
Normally you probably can go to the workspace in this
Yeah, it's okay. This is pretty slow, but that's fine.
So yeah, so this would be a repo. So what I've done is I've effectively copied from the code from the application store directly into my code repository. And over here you'll have, you can actually copy this straight into your workspace. And let's say I want to copy this into the workspace. You can, sorry.
I think you probably clicked it a little too hard.
You can choose your stack over here, whatever stack you want. You can, you can choose whether it's 4 gig or how much memory you want to allocate. Obviously, you wouldn't allocate 32 gig for something. It's just going to create a mess. And yeah, you can literally just choose your workspace over here. And let's say I choose mine as Java, for instance. And what this does is it effectively creates the workspace for you. And the workspace will actually, the next step I'll show you is actually you can go into the workspace, which is your IDE or your cloud development environment. The internet's very slow.
That's okay, Wi-Fi. Yeah, so while we're at it, I think, so what we did was, so we wanted to just make programming as simple. So we kind of wanted to say the message that, okay, oh dear, somebody's fighting back, okay. Or maybe the stack is not compatible with the code or something, Mahesh. You might
Let
want
me
to try
just look
something
at
else.
stack library.
So
You know
yes,
what, let me just click it. Blank stack.
yeah. But anyways, never mind. I think perhaps in the interest of time, you may just want to
Yeah.
skip into the workspace that was already created.
Okay,
I think
so
there are some internet issues here.
yeah, so what we can do is when you click on the workspace,
Kidding me? What? What was that? I think that's a Wi-Fi constraint because I didn't see this when I last checked.
Yeah, captive portals.
yeah,
That's what you're
so
talking about.
Oh man,
okay, you know what?
there you go. Well, never mind. That's fine. So I guess that's what happens when you're ultra secure on the other side about your ports and stuff. So you don't allow genuine work to get
Do I
done.
use like a mobile data? Just go to.
Yeah, we can actually just take this. You can't actually
You can't probably project it, but you can just.
You know what? Let me use my laptop.
You should,
Yeah.
you can plug in.
Plug in. Let me see whether.
Oh, there's no internet phone on the Mac. Yeah. So try to use a mobile data.
So I've actually got it up here, but I don't know how you can see it.
Okay, so about the point on collaboration that you mentioned earlier,
Mhm.
were you saying that a simultaneous collaboration is possible, like Google Docs, or?
Okay, you don't want simultaneous
Yeah,
collaboration.
I mean that's why I was like.
Too many programmers touching the same code. Bad
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah. So what did you mean by that?
Okay,
Like-
what I meant here when you do
Yeah.
collaboration is easier. It's actually easier to visualize even what he's shown. So you can actually have your own private workspaces. So everybody who logs in, who can create variations of this.
Mm.
And at some point in time, if you want to merge code, if you're familiar with
Okay,
Git
yeah.
processes and stuff, you can always make and contribute and merge code. So that's the collaboration we meant. So we will also be coming out later with team structures, how team people can collaborate, rights and stuff. But that's a different way. But collaboration is definitely key, but collaborate smart. So don't overwrite other people's code. That's the message. So that's the way we are actually planning about it. So it's a Git process. Okay, I think it's this workspace. Mahesh, are you able to bring it
Yeah,
up?
you know what? I can bring it up here, but you have to pass it around. You know what? Let me just give you a demo. So you'll have another workspace over here, and I'll pass you around the laptop to look at it. And if you literally click on it here, it loads an IDE for you.
Yeah, probably you can switch off the projector. Yeah. If you can help switch off the
And
projector,
this would
please.
be
Yeah,
easy
switch it
to
off.
show.
Yeah.
Like this, if we can pass it around. So this loads into an IDE.
So an IDE is nothing more than it's pretty much what you already know. The program and the code is on your left corner. You can visualize it. Your workspace, where you actually open one of them, your IDE is there. Then you have your terminals. And what we wanted to also say is that we actually built for the future. And no offense to Microsoft and Windows, but we believe that Linux as a movement and Linux as an operating system for building applications was catching like raging fire. And I think Microsoft also tacitly understands and is actually offering a lot of virtual machines in Linux variations as well. Because there are some things you get with Windows, which is elegance. With Linux, it's raw power. So there's always combinations of what you want to take and stuff. So we geared ourselves towards more performance rather than exceptional user experience and things like that. So for Linux was our base for the workspace. So if you pass around, you will see that the terminal that is appearing there is stuff. So it's for hardcore programmers. It's not for amateurs. And in order to qualify yourself or call yourself a hardcore programmer, you need to know Linux. That's one way or the other. And this is an operating system that you can actually go and modify on demand, which is sometimes dangerous, as Microsoft rightly says. You can end up deleting your boot record or whatever it is without having proper safeguards, and it can happen. So I think Microsoft errs on the side of caution and make sure that you have a stable system, while Linux is all about experimentation a lot more, where you are exposed to frontier kind of risk. So it comes with its own pros and cons. And so the Linux system was chosen as a system for the future. That's what kind of the reason behind as to why we chose that as the development environment. And a lot of hardcore developers, especially to do with blockchain is predominantly a Linux-based protocol. The variations created for Windows or Mac OS or other operating systems is not as well developed, the support is not as well developed as Linux. So if you want to interact with blockchain, that's the other reason why we also kept the development environment in Linux. So you can do all your development, including connecting to your front end, back end, all sorts of things in your workspace. And that's it. That's the kind of power we want to give to people actually doing programming. So that's about Blockchain Foundry. Mahesh, is there anything you want
I just want to show them the site which we've run.
So what he did was, he just went into the workspace, there's some application that he forked, he just configured it.
Yeah, I'm going to just put you on, I just need the right port, because it's based on a cloud-based...
So the entire system is actually based on the cloud, and that's the part I forgot to mention. So as well as thank you to Microsoft, we are actually their Microsoft Azure Cloud BizPark partner, which means they actually are very supportive. If you look at some of the Microsoft stuff, I'm sure Samson will say in detail, is they have community edition for Visual Studio and stuff where you can get it for free. And of course you also have programs such as Azure BizPark and stuff that actually gives you that money to run that infrastructure to allow you to free and focus on your business. So that's other thing that comes up with the Microsoft side. Yeah.
Yeah, so what I did was from the IDE, I copied it over, the code I showed you, I ran it, and it's going to show you the...
Just give it a second,
Yeah.
It's just firing up.
Yeah, so this is an app that we forked, we copied over and we ran, and this would be the thing. I needed to find out the port number so we can run it, because it's actually running on a virtual machine.
So as you can see there, this is an application that we just stood up.
And I think you can even see it on Android, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it should work in Android. It's based on Ionic, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Ionic is a framework which some of you are familiar. It's good for hybrid OS applications and stuff. So this is one example that you can see. And this is a wallet example. So actually, and so what you can do is actually, if you change the code, it should still change the title or something like that.
Yeah,
Right?
if I change the code right now, you can...
Okay, so
let me just...
see if you can do that right away, and then we can refresh this. So he's just going to change the code, so to probably change the title over here from Copay Bitcoin Wallet to something else. Let's see if it works. If it doesn't, he's going to have a tough time facing me. No pressure, I know. Things in technology can break. But that's one thing that we're also kind of at Blockchain Foundry, people are testing. Because environments, computers, virtual machines, once you go into the cloud, and there are different cloud service providers like Azure, then there are others. People have heard about AWS and things like that. So there are plenty of cloud service providers.
I just wrote the word hello right now.
That's
just to speed
refresh
up
it.
in the process of time.
Yeah. So it changed to Hello Copay. So that's proof of live prototyping. You just change the code and you just refresh this, and it just changes over there. So that's the kind of power that we wanted to give in people's hand, to actually quickly prototype and not waste time for doing these kind of menials, very simple things. And of course, there are other things you can do as well in your code base. So, but later on, you can speak with Mahesh if you want to hear about Blockchain Foundry. So I think, thank you, Mahesh. Is there anything else you want to add?
That's it.
Okay, fantastic.
Question. Sorry, so is it is everything that you create there going to be public or?
No. This is completely private.
Oh, okay.
You do not want people to see. Only if you share this link of the application you have stood up,
Oh, okay.
and if you want to share it to your clients, customers, this is the part it becomes easier to share.
Okay.
Because only the built product is shown. The building process and the others are not exposed to risk. It's completely private and with you. Yeah.
Awesome.
And when you run the code, you'll see a preview link. You have to click on that link in order to get to the place where you do it.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Mahesh. Appreciate it. So next on, I think now the exciting parts will start to build on. So next one we'll have Yanjun from Reuters.
Hi, I actually don't have any slides.
I think you can switch that off. Mahesh.
Actually, I probably need it at some point. So
Okay.
I'm Yanjun. I work for Thomson Reuters. How many of you have heard of Thomson Reuters? Awesome. Yay, we're the parent company of Reuters News. If you haven't heard of Thomson Reuters, you must have heard of Reuters News. So today I found a new. So what I want to talk about is actually big data, because we are a data company. So Thomson Reuters was actually two companies, Thomson and Reuters. Reuters is obviously new, it was from London. And Thomson was actually a financial data company. And the two companies merged 2010. And now I'll get into why I'm talking about our company history because it's not super relevant. But, so Thomson Reuters, we have a couple of business lines which lays out the foundation of our big data kind of mindset and proposition. So if we talk about Thomson Reuters, obviously the most famous is our news. So we cover all sort of different sectors. We cover financial markets, we cover commodities, we cover legal, pharmaceutical, everything. So that's coming in different shapes and forms. And we also cover financial market data. So what that means is, if you're building a blockchain and trying to make some sort of transaction, for example, Bitcoin, you need some kind of data to pump into the system to support our different calculations. I'm not a tech person, you probably know more than I do. So we sell this kind of financial market data. So think about a company, for example, Apple. What does it do? It sells iPhone and all sort of iOS products. So if we talk about Apple, it's listed on NASDAQ. Today's stock price, for example, is at $150. I'm not buying that company, so I don't know. But for example, Foxconn. Anybody heard of Foxconn?
Yep.
It's a supplier of Apple, right? It supplies the phones to Apple. It's a factory in Shenzhen, which is town that I was born. But at the same time, and there can be a lot of news for Apple that is flowing around the market in different kind of segments. So that's the second thing that we do. The third thing that we do is risk. So remember, Prez was talking about RegTech. So we do regulation technology as well. So what it means, we have a super big database full of people's names. So let's say I have $100 million. I don't, but let's say if I had, and I come to Hong Kong to open a bank account with HSBC. So will HSBC trust me with my $100 million? I said I get it from my father, for example. He's good. But then HSBC will want to do my background check. Where did I get my money from? Is the money clean? Is the money from some sort of my rich Chinese uncle? They don't know. They need to do a background check on me. So we sell the kind of compliance and risk software. So that's risk. But at the same time, since different regimes have different rules and regulations, they change all the time. So I think we have a statistic coming up. So every second we have 12 regulation change around the world. Isn't that crazy? So we need something to keep track of it, right? So we have a lot of rules and regulation data. For example, sorry, my handwriting is really bad. SFC, SEC, and you name it. So that's our third business line. Think about how much data we have already. And then, it's not ending yet, we have our tax and accounting. So tax and accounting, it's tax and accounting, right? You don't expect a lot from it, but we sell tax and accounting software that consolidates different financial statements together. And last but not least, we have legal. So we publish or we work with a legal magazine called Asia Legal Business. We'll do interviews with the judges, and we do a lot of anti-slavery kind of thing. In addition to all of these business lines, we used to have IP and science. We keep track of pharmaceutical, the newest invention in the biomedical world. So we have 5 business units, and we have so much different data. But how do we make sense of it? How do we find different connections between the data from different business units, right? So this has been a problem that troubled us for a long time, I would say 4 or 5 years. And now, in addition to this kind of data, we have Twitter, we have Weibo, we have Facebook. All of these data, they come out, there are like 5 million tweets every single minute. Like, how do you keep track of that? How do you lay over those super real-time, super fast tweets on top of these more regulated, more normal data? So this is something that we've been trying to figure out. Now, solution. So what we have been trying to do is we give every single, sorry, I'm invading your space. We give every single piece of data a unique identifier. We call it perm ID, and that's what it stands for permanent identifier. So for example, Apple, it has an ID, right? The ticker is APL. But you know, like if Apple someday if it got bought, then the ticker is not gonna exist. But if we label a perm ID to it, it still exists until eternity, until maybe Thomson Reuters goes down, but I hope it doesn't. And then we also give a perm ID to every single piece of news that we have, based on the news content. And in one single big piece of news, for example, Trump this morning, he said he's going to fire his FBI chief of director or something. So in that single article, we contain people like Trump, identity like FBI, country like United States, incident like firing. So we give every single piece of data an ID, and that ID won't change. And then we give our text and our legal every regulation a piece of ID. So, and then now we have, imagine now we have a lot of ID that's flowing around, right? So what we're doing next is to try to find relationship among those IDs, to connect them, to make sense of them. So now the things are starting to make sense, right? We have Apple, and this is, Foxconn is their supplier, so they have a supplier relationship. Apple is listed on NASDAQ, so that's kind of a listed parent kind of relationship. And Apple is regulated by the SEC, so that's a regulator and regulatee relationship. That's how we're trying to overlay data. So if you're doing your project, trying to figure out what is the relationship among different pieces, or you're trying to figure out something from a big sea of something, try and use this kind of technology. And I'm going to show you how to use it in a second. That's when I need the computer.
Go stand there.
Okay. Does that make sense? Any questions so far? Okay. So how do you get to that piece of information you need? You type in permid.org. Okay, so this is Thomson Reuters permanent identifier page. So over here, I want to show you kind of two things. First of all, the overview, well, so let me log in first. And I think you can register for free.
Okay, at least you said something important. You can register for free, get it.
Yay. Okay, so this is our overview. And then it has a brief blurb about perm ID. Feel free to read it afterwards. So, see, search for entity by name, ticker, or RIC. RIC is our word instrument code. So let's say I type in AAPL, Apple. What is it going to give me? Okay, it's going to give me, there are 4 organizations that are tagged Apple. One instrument is probably the stock. And then there are a lot of stock quotes. So then if we go here on Apple, now we have organization details. See, this is the perm ID. It's kind of like, just think about it as a barcode on everything you buy, the 64-bit thing. And then basic demographic information. And if the company is listed, we have all of their officers and directors information. And if you scroll down, we also trying to find different things that are related to Apple. Think about, now we have Apple's ordinary shares, and primary code where they listed, and all of these people that are related to Apple. So that's the beauty of it. Play around this page. I don't want to take so much of your time. And another really cool thing I'm going to show you is called Data Fusion. So I don't remember the website, but if you search on Chrome, Data Fusion, Thomson Reuters, remember this, and then you go to the second page. Whoops. That's embarrassing. Okay, I think this is working. So Data Fusion is a way to try and find relationship of different pieces of data. Okay, so this is not working, so I'm gonna draw. It's kind of similar to what I'm saying, what I just said. The example that I always use was I want to find a relationship between Trump and Bill Clinton.
I don't think that's hard to say, but
They have many relationships, right? And obviously I don't remember any of them. And if you go to our website, this one, darefisher@thomsonreuters.com, you will find the answer. But I'm just gonna make things up to give you an example of how it's gonna work. So let's say if you put on Trump and Bill Clinton over here, and the website will start thinking, trying to find links based on these perm IDs and the relationship map that we have. And then let's say Trump is connected to the Clinton's foundation because Trump has donated money to them, which is pretty common, right? And then Clinton's foundation is obviously related to them, but again, maybe Trump bought this company A that's related to a supplier of Microsoft. And Bill Clinton works at Microsoft, right? Does he?
that's a rhetoric. I
Let's
think
suppose-
Samson should answer that.
Let's suppose he did. And all of these missing links here is the thing that we want to find out. How are these two entities related? And I think there was...
I think actually you meant Bill Gates.
Right, you're right.
Fair. That's fine.
That supplier was supplying something to Bill Gates.
Yeah.
And Microsoft, and Bill Clinton is using Microsoft's computer. But that's the kind of relationship you can find here. That's the beauty of it. So the more data you punch in, it's going to form like a knowledge graph. And I hope that will be something that's useful to your project. And if you have any question, ask Dan for my contact detail. And then, yeah, let me know. Good luck.
All right. Very good. That's fantastic. Okay, now we have some power play coming up from Samson from Microsoft.
I think I left my phone. Where my phone?
Is this your phone?
Oh, that's my phone. Thank you.
This day.
It's there.
I got this. Good luck, guys.
Okay, fantastic.
Thank you.
Fantastic, lovely. Okay, so next on should be Samson from Microsoft.
I have to.
Well, while he's getting set up, give him a hand, guys. He's gonna come up with some of the interesting things that are happening on the Microsoft world and stuff. So let's look for Microsoft to share their vision of the future and how they want to contribute and how young minds like you should be going for it. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I guess later on I will have a lot of time sitting back there to touch on.
Do you want a clicker? I have a clicker.
That will be fine if you have one.
Oh yeah, go for it, John. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, this is about millennials and technology.
Yeah.
They just have the solution in their bag. You see that?
Yeah, we can start.
Okay, sure. So I'm Samson from Microsoft. I usually work with some developer tools as well as some cloud computing technologies. So later on I'll introduce something called blockchain as a service. I'm not a deep expert on blockchain, but definitely there's something you can look into it to see if it is helpful for you. Because on blockchain, one very fundamental feature is that you have to know how to manage the infrastructure in a very well manner. And this is not something easy if you are a beginner. But luckily, on Microsoft's Azure, we have a lot of different templates for the kickstart. Just by a few clicks with some parameters adjustment, then we can help you to build the infrastructure on the go. And blockchain founder definitely did a great job on leveraging our Azure Stack technologies here. So, okay,
The right button.
the right one.
Yeah, that one.
This one?
Okay. Also, this is the laser,
Okay,
and this is the next one.
let me try again.
Maybe you have to point at it. There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, then like this. So just now I covered a little bit about Azure, and there are some coding tools that we have today. So I understand that maybe when in your college you were not being told about some of these here, but glad that we already have some very nice tools which are provided for free that you might try. Personally, we are using like Visual Studio, which is a very strong feature IDE that every enterprise users are almost using it. But for students, I would strongly recommend you to look for two code features. Studio Code is a script editor with a very strong feature with a lot of different extensions. Later on, I might do something on it as well, so let you know what actually can help you to build firm. So, blockchain as a service. Okay, this takes some time. So again, later on I might go through the Azure portal to show you something about it, how easy it is to just select one of these and then have your project built on different servers one by one, and you can through some code automation, or you can just do it manually through our user-friendly portal to try to manage your different servers here. And luckily you can see Blockchain Foundry is on the list as well, so you can leverage on Blockchain Foundry service on the Azure to try to build your blockchain services. So one interesting thing is speaking of blockchain, which Thomas Roder just now have shown and Blockchain Foundry has shown, is that whenever we talk about blockchain, we just relate it to Bitcoin and think about fintech as well. But then blockchain, it actually is not just a technology being confined within the fintech area. We have actually worked with an Australian company, which is actually a travel industry company there. So they try to use blockchain technologies to try to lock down different customers' record on their traveling history. So in this way, we heard a lot of different maybe criminals try to dodge around different hotels here. So in this way, they want to use blockchain technologies to make it secure to know that who have been in the hotel, who have gone, what service have they been using to help the police to track down the criminals' crime in an easy manner. So you can see a user is being connected to a front-end interface, and in the back end, just now we have briefly mentioned what blockchain means is that a chains of different blocks here. So whenever there's a data update in one single block here, you can see they are being correlated here, having different update pieces there. So in this way, you can very hard to modify one record of data and then to influence another set of data as well. This is the beauty of blockchain, that can secure the data record. So later on, we can try to see how this is shown. And allow me to, again, a little bit of marketing here. So Visual Studio Community is a free tool for you to use to manage different services. So just now when I mentioned Azure's blockchain as a service, you can actually use Visual Studio to manage some server-side configuration as well. So this is a one single tool that can help you to enable you to work on your front-end projects, which means some work apps project, as well as the back-end projects, how you manage a database, how you manage your servers here. Sometimes. Okay. Another cool feature is that I know these days is about the era of mobile. So when developing mobile applications, we use Xcode with Android Studio, but something maybe quite new to you, something called Xamarin here. What it does is that you can just leverage on one single code base and to generate applications to different platforms. So you don't have to write a single application with 3 different sets of different codes. But what's good about it is that unlike some HTML5 hybrid application model, the apps being generated is using a native compiler, so it can have access to the native features on the native devices. So I'm just going. This is one. So later on, I will try to do some demos on how you can use Visual Code, and then maybe in connection with our AI technologies as well, how you can leverage on some AI technologies in order to make your application have a human side there. And again, you can see on Mac, on Windows, we can all use this feature too here. That's why I bring a Mac here today, even though I'm a representative from Microsoft. Definitely not because of the WannaCry threat. Okay, so you can see this is the code editor. Just something similar as what you might have been using, something like Atom or J, whatever. A lot of different languages you support. So before I go on, you might want to have a quick snapshot if you are interested in knowing this tool later on. And the demo that will be shown later, you can also get the code repository here as well.
I think it's worthwhile mentioning something that Visual Studio is meant for Windows, while Visual Studio Code, if I understand it correctly, can be used in multiple different operating systems.
On Linux as well.
Yes, it works there. So you don't have to be constrained that you have to work on Windows, but if you want to work stuff, you still have this kind of beautiful tools that you can use on Linux as well.
Right, thanks for this. Every time they do this gesture, or maybe I just...
It's there, it's there.
Okay, so after talking about some IDs working on your local computers, and just now we have mentioned blockchain with Blockchain Foundry's demo talking about some code repository collaboration of development. So it actually falls back to the concept of DevOps. So I'm not sure if you have been practicing it in your unit projects. Maybe some of you do, some of you don't. But DevOps definitely is a big trend. It talks about how you and your peers can work on your single computers while keeping your source code in the central source of location. And once we know that there are some new commit being pushed there, we can trigger something called continuous integration or continuous delivery to make your app just update as fast as you want, just as what we have demoed just now. So DevOps is definitely something you should look into if you want to land for a great job in a big company later on. So maybe further I can show some things.
You start the question with fun.
Maybe I'll just stand here with it.
Yeah, I'll be.
Thank you. Okay. So, DevOps originally is not something being really easy to be implemented, as it involves a lot of shell script and a lot of different TypeScript as well. But then with our DevOps platform, we offer you some building blocks here. You just can assign different tasks into what we call build definition, which I can show later on as well. Then it can help you to automate tasks one by one to build your project, maybe to restore some program packages, as well as running some shell script to copy the files to some kinds of server that you want to. And Docker is something very hot these days, actually not these days, it has been hot around the development world for quite some time already. You can have some Docker build projects as well. So continuous delivery is something similar. It talks about how we can take your whole package to deploy to a remote server here. So that's why we can do that kind of automation with this kind of different definitions on your delivery and building process. But what's more interesting nowadays is what we call infrastructure as a code. So what you can see is that how we can actually automatically provision a new server through coding is with a reference code model like this. Later on, I have a file that can go through more of the details. But the meaning of infrastructure as a code is that, so imagine just now Blockchain Foundry did a demo, they can easily spin up their VM. How they can do that? We didn't have something in the back end who helped them to run a VM. It's all being done by code. So another skill set developers should start to capture nowadays is how to capture this infrastructure as a code skill set. So as a developer now, you can trigger, as long as you know where your server are, through some code that you write your configuration in the JSON files. So after that, you trigger, maybe through a shell script or whatever, it can help you to create a new image on your server, and then you can deploy your application right on the way. And why this is important here is in specific the context of blockchain again. Just now we mentioned the infrastructure could be very complicated, and sometimes you might have to trigger a new environment to store your data between a new part of the blockchain. So infrastructure as a code is something that you should maybe start to look into to see how you can use it to trigger the automatic provision.
I think he's made a point there, because infrastructure is a nightmare. Getting so many computers just to work the way you want them to work is just nightmare. So some of these kind of tools and stuff, making infrastructure as a code is actually a new paradigm. Earlier we used to just go about doing it manually, and now templates are arriving. The JSON format, the Java standard object notation, is a nice neat way to tell what you really need as infrastructure and let the code behind it work. So infrastructure as a code is a new paradigm that I think everybody should pay attention to. Yeah.
Right, thanks for that. So just now we talked a lot about practices as a developer or something about infrastructure. Here is something maybe a little bit more interesting, is about AI. So Microsoft has been dedicated in making different kind of cognitive technologies as well, from vision, speech, language, and different rhythm searching technologies, although we seldom sell this part because we know we are always we claim that we're the second reading. Okay, should I do the slides first or do the demo first? Anyways. So we have one thing called language understanding intelligence service. So nowadays we work around with some smart assistant like Siri. For Microsoft we have Cortana, Google has Google Now. They can understand human language, help you to perform some tasks. So in a traditional way, we would do it with some would do R, some would do Python, and then use it to make some NLP, like what person has mentioned there. But then Microsoft offers some API technologies that can for you to train your language model in a much easier manner. You don't really have to deal with those little parts of different parts of the algorithms. You just focus on the training process. Try to supply some quality data to it. And it can help you to generate a very nicely language model at the back end, and it can help you to understand a sentence specific to your context. So this is a very simple flow here, and I can show. Okay. So a little bit of concept like how it works here. So be it Microsoft's technologies or like IBM's is doing it as well, Google is doing it as well. So one concept you have to know is utterances. Utterances is just maybe more of a beautiful name that we give it. You can just treat a sample sentence here. But then a lot of different vendors love to use this name. So you supply a lot of different sentences, and then we identify this kind of sentence with one intent that we call it. Let's say this is an inquiry about renting office. So we can have different intents. Maybe I can have 5 intents for my language model. Some is about like help desk inquiry, some is about maybe account inquiry, different kinds of inquiry. Under each intent that we have, we supply a lot of different sample sentences here. So at the back end, we will help you to do a regression modeling to study the sentence structure and what kind of vocabs have been commonly used around one intent that you have defined it. Another terms that you might have to know in order to use this language understanding intelligence service is what we call entities. So maybe the screen is a little bit small, but you can see there are some blankets here. So this is where I locate some of the vocabs that I want this language model to focus on. Let's say I have an intent, the sentence purpose are for office inquiry. So some obvious entities I would like to capture is maybe the location of office. When someone asks the computer about, hey, I want to rent an office in maybe Hong Kong, I have to be able to notice that Hong Kong is meaning a place, so that I can ask the robot to help me search through the database, find an office for him. So, and then maybe I can have another entities about team size, like what kind of size of office can be recommended to this user. So after locating the location in different sentences about these entities, it will start to know how to pick up different dynamic values upon the new sentence being supplied to technologies here. So this is the JSON format. After you have trained the model, you can actually submit a query here, and we'll help you to return different intents here with the confidence scores here, ranked from the most confident ones. And you can also help you to capture the entities. What kind of entities has been appeared in the sentence that have been newly supplied to the sentence. So with these two information, you can actually do a lot of different fun things using bot to help you to automate different workflow that you have to otherwise being done.
Okay, one question here, Samson.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is, in a sense, you can now talk to your computers.
Right.
Which is a little scary by itself, but okay.
We have been doing it to Siri and Google now.
Yeah, I think it started from there. I guess it's important to put this, how important this is in context, because this is the next level of evolution. So what you're saying is things like this could actually become chatbots. It can replace humans to just be your answering one. So that's kind of some of these areas that you can already see this coming in. And well, can we make sure it doesn't yell back at us?
Well, so maybe we are dragging the topic a bit, but I think it's an interesting topic to discuss on. So currently for chatbot, we have 2 types of different chatbots. One chatbot is that they can try to understand different ways of an expression from human beings. But then the way that they reply towards the same intent can still be the same. No matter you ask me, I want an office, I want to get an office, there are different ways of asking, but it still give you the same reply. And that reply is being configured by us. We are the programmers who do that. But then there's another more advanced type of chatbot, which we use a reinforcement machine learning model. So the chatbot will based on how the users reply and try to refine the way it replies to users. Let's say maybe in some chatbot conversations, the users just stop abruptly, not finishing the conversation. What we mean the conversation may be for an office inquiry samples here. So the users should say maybe something like, okay, thanks for your information, I would like to have this office. But if the users didn't say something like that, the chatbot may try to refine the way it speaks next time. So for the second type of chatbot, it could evolve to a way that the chatbot might start to yelling at users, why you don't reply me, something like, maybe your girlfriend would do. Anyways, so yeah, there are 2 types of different chatbots, but in general, this language understanding intelligence service that we have today is more for the first type. We can have dynamic information being received, but the conversation being replied to user is more or less in a very standardized way, just that the data being called could be different based on the queries. So that you can also have a dashboard to track what kind of entities and intents have been hit throughout a period of time. This is the beauty of the user platform. Another APIs that I would try to recommend to you is highly related to how to build a successful chatbot. It's called the Translator Test API. So what it can help you to do is that, just now imagine a language model. So it's real life experience that we deal with customers that some customers say, hey, I have different customers from different countries. So do I have to train like 10 sets of different language models to cater customers from different countries, and then we offer them a solution is that you can actually implement a translator layer before it gets into the language model. So what it means is that they can just train one single language model, which is English as the mother language. And whatever the bot input will get through the translator and translate back to English, and then pass it bot, so the bot will still understand in English context and try to provide the right response as we configure. So we are trying to make our translator service better and better. In the past, it's just a direct translation, but now we implement some, again, neural network machine learning. So try to make the translation as authentic as possible and try to understand some cultural difference as well. So using translator plus the language understanding intelligence service is a very powerful combination for you to make a chatbot here. So for your hackathon later on, with this kind of APIs that can help you to make your application stand out, to target some multinational corporations application, these things might be something they can leverage on. Okay, so I might just go very quick about this part. So talking about chatbot, we do have a processing unit here. You can just imagine the language understanding intelligence and the translator being the middle layer here. Then we can actually configure it to connect to different platforms to chat with your customers. And at the back end, you can browse your database or trigger some workflow at the back end to help your users to do something. So we do have some customer cases. You can try to play around if you have Skype. This is a flight agent in England that they try to use chatbot to help their customers to recommend the best flights for them based on the location that they supply. Thanks. Okay, another interesting thing is about facial recognition. So when it comes to security, this day we talk about some bio authentication. So in the past we have something called fingerprint, and then now we have actually using your facial landmark.
Is that you?
Yeah, it is me.
Oh, okay. The resemblance was just too good, so I was like, can't be him, right? Oh yeah, it is him. Sorry, didn't mean to do that.
Yeah, I turned on a little bit fast. It was taken like a year ago. Anyways, so you can see that this kind of technology can help you to track down each individual single where their elements on their face are located at in order to identify different person from one person to another person. So by using this API, you can actually assign each single random string of ID to each person. And then based on this kind of APIs, you can build your own security system. So actually, Uber is trying to use it to protect the passenger safetyness back in the state that every driver, whenever they have to start a ride, they have to authenticate whether they're the driver themselves. It could be that it's a robbery case that someone bad stole the car and then try to use the Uber to drive someone and have more victims there. But then with some kind of facial recognition technologies, it helps Uber to recognize the driver before they can receive a file order. So this is something you can look into. If you're interested in fintech security, maybe facial thing can help you to do some, maybe transaction confirmation, we can use facial recognition here. So there's something more about it. It can recognize age, I didn't show just now, so to protect from my privacy. So you can see whether a person is smiling or not, whether they have facial hair, and whether they have glasses or no glasses. Why this is important because, sorry? Okay. Why this is important because for computer to recognize a person with the glasses, it can greatly enhance the similarity between person, because if we both wear very similar glasses, then we look more or less the same because of different kind of reasons. So that's why for the case just now I mentioned for security practice, we can actually ask the users to remove their glasses before they do the confirmation here. And this is just a bunch of JSONs to see what kind of data it will help to return here after you submit the facial image to the API. And then furthermore, it's not just about the facial recognition, it's about object recognition. So we have our generic 86 category concept to help you recognize different objects in the picture. So this is something that we have been working on for the past year, but just lately, like 1 week ago, we have something cooler that we implemented, is to give you the flexibility to train the image that you want to recognize. So for example, I make a demo that I try to train the computer to identify between a MacBook and a Surface Book, which is made by Microsoft. So actually, they look quite the same in terms of the color, the look and feel. It's just a matter that the keyboard color is different and MacBooks come with a rounded shape here. So I give a very difficult task to the computer to try to recognize pictures from MacBook and Surface Book, and the results turn out is really nice. It can really help me to distinguish different laptop by different computers. So you can actually leverage on this ability to customize the things that you want to have the computer to help you identify with your own ideas here. So this is one very interesting computer vision API that you can leverage on. So what has been put into practice, just to give you more inspiration, is that, like I said, another security measurement. So this is one real project being deployed that the owner of this factory tried to train different dangerous tools inside their working station. So whenever they recognize a person that is not supposed to be hosting some kind of, like, you can call a weapon or dangerous working tool here, it will send an alert to the manager to say, hey, there's someone don't know how to use that tool, but picking up this tool that might cause disasters on the labor. So that's why we can use some kind of customization to train the computer to identify different objects plus human beings in order to make some meaningful applications here. Okay, so enough of the slide presentation. Actually, do I have time to really show some?
Yeah, go for it, go for it.
I'm not sure if we're running out of time.
We're okay. We have plenty of time.
Okay,
But hold on a second, maybe here, anybody have any questions for him before he goes on to the demo?
Yes.
Is that all part of Microsoft Azure services?
Yes, and part of this is actually offered for free. Like this custom vision.ai now it is in preview version, so you can use it for free to generate your own training model. And the language understanding model is also free for a certain amount of transactions as well. So like for the first 1,000 conversations you send to the computer to train, it is free for you. But then if you are going beyond that limit, you have to pay quite a minimum amount of money to continue the service.
But is there any students package that's kind of, you always have something for educational institutions, right?
Right, it depends on if your school subscribe one thing called Microsoft Imagine. So Microsoft Imagine is a program offered for university students to have a certain amount of US dollars, if I don't remember wrong, it's around like 15 or 50, I don't really remember.
150 USD for Edge students. It's actually free Azure credit. So if you're studying like the university, like 8 or 10 university in Hong Kong, so they should be covered with things, or at least, for example, USC or CHK, PolyU or CDU.
Right.
Okay, so you do get to play it when you're in your universities, especially for those in universities. So that's the message there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So to explore cloud.
You can search on Microsoft Imagine.
Any more questions about the?
I think they're curious to see your demo.
Well, don't place too much attention on it. But yeah, if there are no questions, maybe I will show.
Well, while he's at it, well, we all know that we are hungry for food and hungry for knowledge. So I think this is anyways the last bit, and this is also pretty important, which is why we kept it for the last as well. So at least have a look. This will be the last thing you might remember as well
Yeah.
of the whole day. So have a look through. Yeah.
As I have covered quite a lot of different perspectives of technologies here, so I'm just going to cover it one by one. But then maybe I might not go too deep into it, but if you're interested in some service later, feel free to talk to me independently. So the first thing I'd like you to know is that this is what we call the Azure portal, where you can feel free to provision any service as you like. So here I got a Linux VM running that is hosting a Java project here. In the past, maybe you have to use your own computer to maybe silo a Linux image, but with cloud, you can actually, as easy as a few clicks, then you can provision a Linux VM here and get connected into it. And just now I mentioned, if you want to build a blockchain project, then it's actually pretty difficult that even though with the technologies of cloud, you still have to provision different VMs one by one, probably in the past. But now we have a series of different templates here. And from Microsoft, we are trying to provide an Ethereum consulting blockchain here. So when you further click on it, you will see some description and the architecture diagram as I shown to give a look and feel to you, hey, after you create this service, how it will be look like. And just to tell you, I'm not really telling lies, is that you just have to really like supplement some parameters. Like what is the VM username, what is the resource prefix, it means the unique string of name that you would like to give it to you. Okay. So password could be anything. Okay, is not a username.
2d6 too long.
It's challenging to make it between okay, no, between 2 and 6 characters.
I think in AZ should be fine. You just have to exit the box so it validates.
Okay. So, but in the interest of time, anyways, I would like to just give you a look and feel that you can try to supply some very easy information here, network, Ethereum setting, and summary. I think for now, because we have a lot of different preview services here, they keep it between 2 and 6 is that they have a purpose not to let too many people provision blockchain servers on their network. But definitely you can get back to try with some really unique prefix. And I have to warn you, this service could be quite expensive, so once you spin it on and have a look and feel on ways, you can try to pick it out. Until you have a greater ambition to start your own business later, then you can try to start off here. Okay. So the next thing just now I covered is about DevOps tooling. So this is like a collaboration portal among different developers that we have been offered, again, for free. So for free version, you can have as many as 5 teammates inside your team to work on the DevOps project. So what it means is that you can assign different tasks, you can add some plugin to understand how your website is being up and running nowadays. And in order to do what I call automatic deployment, you can actually have some virtual machines being hosted either on cloud or on your local machine here. And Microsoft has been generously providing some free VM for you to build your own projects as well. And for each local machine that you has been configured, you can see what kind of jobs it has been helping you to build. You can track down the versioning numbers and to know that if there are some successful build you want to further replicate this again, you can feel free to do so as well. Okay. So these are some successful builds. So you can see for my deployment project, I have 2 different things. One is maybe more familiar to you, what we call virtual machine use of VM. And then another is an ARM, which is what we call an ARM template deployment. But what an ARM template deployment is, maybe I can further click on the add-on button to see.
So this ARM is the Azure Resource Manager, right?
Right. So those who are familiar with Azure already knows these fancy names here. So you can see there are just actually 4 very simple steps here. I try to create an Azure resources which is on cloud, and then the PowerShell helps me to automate some machine configuration and deploy, because it's a Java project, it deploys to the server with some parameters that is suggested here. And at the end, I can even do a performance testing to test whether this server, after being deployed, is up and running mode. The beauty about it is that I can try to set the parameters here. So every time if I want to provision a new resources, I can just change the name here and change the VM name as well and try to provision a new machine. So, and that's how the VM that I have shown on the very first part up and running is because of I provisioned that machine here. So, okay. Let me see. So here's the code that I just have shown to you. Talking about code reuse, this is actually, you can treat it as a base of the JSON file, what kind of VM I want to provision and what kind of password and main information that I want it to be. On Azure, to provision the VM resources is as easy as just providing these kind of parameters here. So I want it to be located in Southeast Asia, I want the VM size, we have different namings for different specs here. You can refer to our library to see what it means here. And then I can define whether I want a Windows server or a Ubuntu server or other Linux server, Red Hat, it could be. Then once we have this template, actually just now the PowerShell steps helps me to, based on this JSON file, to turn on and provision a VM on Azure. But every time when you want to reuse this template to generate new resources, you can as well put a parameter file here to just override the original parameters in the JSON file. So in this way, you have dynamic values to keep on provisioning the same type of VM that you have. By leveraging this infrastructure as a technology, it can help you to provision dynamic resources. You can scale down or scale up some resources as you like by some conditional trigger. And you can feel free to capture the IP address with a shell script to know that where's the latest deployment are. And you can go and take a look about your latest deployment with some get IP PowerShell script as well. So this is what we call some automatic deployment, how it works here. So feel free to explore this what we call Visual Studio Team Services. Again, it's for free. You can use it with your college peer and they will find that, wow, this is so amazing that our professors can teach us about this. Okay. So now it comes to the AI thing. You can see that we have different, maybe I should switch it to English in order to more people to understand what it means. Okay. So just now I already do some screenshot on how my face would look like when I submit the data onto it, and it will return different JSON file to help you to analyze what are the faces, how they looks like, and their emotion as well. So this kind of data actually can help you to some restaurant actually thinking about, can I implement it for some customer satisfaction, real performance indexer there. And here are the overall types of APIs that I have, and that is, again, very easy to be used. We have something called video API that can help you to analyze facial expression and streaming method instead of an image thing as well. We have video indexer, and then just now I mentioned something about speech translator, web language model, language understanding. It could take me like 3 full days to talk about each of the servers, so I'm not going through it one by one, but just to let you know what we have here. Again, maybe for the sake of your time, you can skip about search part. Maybe another engine provides a better. We are a trusted advisors, so I have to give you a trusted advice. Okay. So before I goes into the AI demo, here's another thing for those who are hardcore in machine learning. This is what we call a cognitive toolkit. So just now, for this portal called Cognitive Service, I can easily use an API call by submitting an image URL or image file. It can help me to return the result. You are not responsible for any training algorithm. But this thing called Microsoft Cognitive Toolkit is something that we try to open it up for different data scientists to work on it. So we have different model gallery here, depending on what kind of information you are more interested in. It could be speech, it could be image, it could be whatever you like. And it depends on what kind of programming skills that you're good at. If you're good at Python, then maybe you can choose those or in Python. So maybe I just try to expand one of these and let's just see what we have open sourced for you to run. So here's a Python file. So you can feel free to leverage on it, customize it on your own, and try to use it to train the things that you like. Again, because Microsoft has a huge team of data scientists, we always update this set of library, as well as we welcome you to suggest some updates to us. So these are all open source nowadays. Feel free to use it to build it, but why I show this is that these are all the results of what we have here at the more hardcore products. But then if you think I'm not at that level to manage Python or R, then maybe using some API services with this cognitive service will be good for you. So now I'm going to show a tool called Visual Studio Code. Again, a little bit marketing thing. I do love this editing tool is because it's very smart that when I click on the tab, it can help me to expand images so I can do coding very fast, and I can as well do some comparison in a very good manner. Okay. So basically what this app does is like a chatbot. It can help to recognize some speech. I call speech API here, and it will help me to translate it into text. And then the language understanding intelligence at the back end will help me to further place the text into meanings and pass it back to the JS file here. So you can see the way that I capture. Wait a second, I have to find my intent collection. Okay, so just now I mentioned something called intent. So when the API passes back some data to me, I can say if the intent returns means purchasing some stocks here, then I can perform a series of action. This is what I mean by we are the one who configure the response for the bot. But it can still be dynamic at the backend if you have enough conditional statement by having different entities in the backend. Just check about what kind of response shall I give based on this. Again, another great part about this tool is that it can actually have an integrated terminal. So I might just start my app within the same IDE here. It's running on POP 3000, which is So let me see, again, depends on the network to hopefully make it work. Okay, so now I have a robot. Apologize for bad graphics here, I'm not a graphic designer, don't have 3D skills, so it's just a 2D robot here. I want to buy some stocks. Let me see what happened. No speech, let me try again. Is it because
Did it say you're not qualified or something like that? Is it why it's not trying to, oh, this happens all the time. I think the Wi-Fi is a little slow here perhaps, so that happens all the time.
Let me try again. I want to purchase some stocks.
Which stocks would you like to purchase?
Okay, it could happen that sometimes it recognizes a wrong word, stocks and stocks, because I may not be a very good English speaker. But then because of the sentence structure and I train it in the context of a stocks purchase environment, you can still try to understand the term stocks. Interesting. I want to purchase 500 shares of Google stocks.
Which stocks would you like to purchase?
Okay, maybe you can recognize the name Google here, because maybe it's a Microsoft product. No, just kidding. Actually, it could work, but maybe my speech is a little bit bad just now. May I purchase 5,000 shares of Microsoft stocks?
Sure.
I'm sorry. I cannot understand your command at the moment.
Yeah, it can happen.
Please try again.
Let me try again. My English is really bad. I want to purchase 5,000 shares of Microsoft stocks.
The required number of shares have been purchased. It is my pleasure to serve you here. Anything else I can help?
So I'm actually attempting to make a little Siri or a little Cortana of my own with just a little set of simple codes here. Again, the demo, you can feel free to clone it here if you are interested and try to work on your own. So it's the link here, aka.am-azed/transaction bot. You can leverage on this GitHub repo to try to build your own bots as well. Okay, and after that, my last part to show is just about the training portal of the language understanding intelligence.
Yeah, probably just one bit of message to people. So if most of you are wondering why we started at 6 and we still haven't anything to eat, that's typically hackathons. You code, and you get your stuff through. So you don't have time much to do your regular stuff and things. So part of the way this event was designed as well was to go through like a marathon. And those who actually can survive and absorb the best things get to absorb. It's an endurance test. Yeah, go on, Samson.
So just now I mentioned we have a portal for training. How I can did that is that here I define some intents as well. So inside the purchase stocks here, I actually try to train the machine. So if I show here, you can see these are the clear samples here. But then if I try to highlight it and train it to say, hey, Apple is a stock name, Microsoft is a stock name. Whenever I submit a new request, by default, it can help me to recognize the location of number and the stock number here. So I just have to capture the entities to help me identify what kind of data I have to reply to it. So I guess that's everything about what I have to present here. Hope these tools can help you to make some great applications here. Thank you.
Okay, brilliant. I think it must be an overload because I think we saw a lot of variations. We saw first with Blockchain Foundry, and then subsequently with Thomson Reuters, and then with Microsoft presenting different technological advancements. So I hope, at least from today's sessions, all of you had something to take with you. And of course, I saw a lot of you noting down the links when he mentioned it, so go check it out, whatever links you have. And of course, if you need links from Mahesh, please get it for Blockchain Foundry. So a lot of interesting technology innovations are happening. That's the key thing. So I'm not going to talk any further because everybody needs food. So we're going to close here. Thank you very much for being here.